My name is Ankit Jain. I welcome you all to my channel, Tech Journey with Ankit. Today's video is again a continuation of our Apex Trigger series, where we are exploring the different scenarios that you may encounter in your Salesforce interviews as well. So let's get started with the today's scenario now, which has been asked in one of the MNC's interview as well. In case you folks like to have one-to-one connect with me, you can do that on the top mat. Moreover, you can also join the Telegram group where we do discuss all the queries that you encounter in your Salesforce journey. So before we get started, like we always do, we do a quick revision of the best practices and then we will move to the scenario as well. So whenever you folks will be writing down the trigger, make sure that you guys are always following the best practices in the trigger. First best practice here is always make sure that you are writing one trigger per object. And to do that, you will be using the context variable. How to do that, I have covered in very detail in the previous videos as well. Do check that out. If you want to know the theory, check out the first part. Always make sure you are following the naming conventions. Use only the required event, although there are altogether 7 events, but don't use all the 7 events. Use only the logical events in your scenario. Next one here is always go for the context specific handler method. Don't define the irregular methods, whatever the context that you do have, write down that logic in that context specific method. Next one here is write down the logicless trigger. Make sure your trigger is always logicless. Next one here is try to bulkify the code and use collections to make sure that you are meeting that bulkification and also avoiding the SOQLs and the DMLs inside the loop. Whenever possible, go for the for SOQL query loop. If properly use the future methods, don't forget about the undelete event, and if possible, do consider the flows before writing down the trigger. Again, in the scenarios that I will be covering, we are more pressing on the trigger, but the similar scenario you guys can also try to implement using the flows as well. So today's scenario is based on the exception, how we can give an error message using the trigger. So before we move toward the actual scenario, let's quickly cover the theory on that part, and then we will move on the scenario part. So whenever you have to give an exception using the trigger, we have to use the method that is the add error method. And this add error method needs to be used on a record or a particular field as well. Okay, so what you have to do whenever you have to give any error message, you have to use the method add error, and then this add error method needs to be linked with the particular error. And if you want to display that message next to the particular field, that also you can do. So when you use trigger.new records in insert or update trigger and trigger.old records in the delete trigger, we always discuss that insert and update, you should go for the trigger.new, and for the delete scenario, you should go for the trigger.old. The custom error message will always display in the application interface. Right? This is the only way of displaying something on the UI using the Apex. Many times this type of question has been asked, what all the different options that you do have to display the something on the from the Apex to the UI. So your answer should be only the error messages from the triggers can be displayed. Definitely other things you can pass it to the LWC and LWC will do the job. But with respect to the triggers, you can directly send the message back to the UI. Moreover, if trigger throws an unhandled exceptions, all records marked within the error and no further processing will take place. So we have to make sure that we are doing the appropriate error handling as well. In case the trigger throws any exception, then the no further processing will happen. And this is how you should go and throw the error message. So you have to use this add error method, and whatever the error message that you have to put, you can go and put that error message here. We will see this with an example so that you folks will get a better clarity on this. So the scenario for today, what we have to do here is we have to implement an Apex trigger. This Apex trigger will prevent the deletion of an opportunity if it has any related activities. So there are multiple things that needs to be known before you go and answer this question. The very first thing here is what is actually the related activities. In what object you will go and check that we do have the related activities. Again, if you already know the answer, please let me know in the comment section. So in Salesforce, basically the related activities comes from the two object. One is the task object and second is the event object. So what you have to do here is from the opportunity, you have to make the queries on the related task and the events and check if there any related task and events are available. If the answer is yes, then you have to prevent the user for deletion of an opportunity. Otherwise, users can definitely go and delete an opportunity here. So like we always do, we have to ask here the four questions. Which four question? On which object user is performing an operation? So in this scenario, on which object user is performing the operation? Is the user performing the operation on the opportunity or on the related activity? Again, the answer to this here is user is performing the operation on the opportunity object. What type of operation that user is performing, whether the user is performing insert, update, delete or undelete. As the problem says, user is trying to perform the deletion. That means user is performing the deleting of operation here, right? Next one here is what type of trigger will be applicable. Again, if you guys have seen the previous videos, please pause this and let me know what type of trigger will be applicable and why. So in this scenario, the trigger that will be applicable here will be the before trigger. And the reason being we have to perform the validation. We have seen that or we have discussed that multiple times. Whenever we have to perform the validation or we have to update the field of the same record, we always go for the before trigger. So here also it will be the same. Next one here is which context variable will be used. Now you have to perform the delete operation. In the case of delete operation, whether you go and use the trigger.new, trigger.old, or you can use both. I hope you guys are answering this and putting it in the comment section before you move further. It is the way of your confidence building as well. You guys have understood this particular scenario and you guys can also validate. It's completely fine if you are going it wrong. I will definitely help you to correct why you are going wrong. So in this scenario, we have to perform the deletion operation, and whenever we have to perform the deletion operation, we have to always go for the trigger.old context variable. So the answer for this here is we have to go for the opportunity, we have to go for the delete, we have to go for the before trigger, and here we have to use the trigger.old. Now this lands me to the next part. What type of event will be applicable here? So in this scenario, the event that will be applicable, it's going to be the before delete event. Right. So what I am doing here is I will be writing here the before delete event on the opportunity object. I hope you folks got the clarity what I needs to do. So let's go and try to implement this trigger with the help of before delete, and we will also put an error message as well. So to do that, let me navigate to my editor. Here I'm quickly checking if I have written any trigger on the opportunity in the past. Account case lead. No, there is no trigger on the opportunity. So I'm creating a new trigger here. Opportunity trigger. Right, this trigger I am creating on the opportunity object. And the event that is applicable that just now we discussed is will be the before delete event. Let me zoom this a bit. The event that will be applicable here will be the before delete event. Like we always do, we don't write the business logic inside the trigger. Just now we have seen as a part of best practice, my trigger should be logicless. So here I'll be putting if trigger dot is before, and here I am checking if trigger dot is delete. As I am performing the delete operation, I will be creating the helper class for this trigger. Create apex class, and here I'll be putting the helper. And in that helper class, I will be creating one method, public static void, that is the opportunity. Sorry, let me put up here the method name as before delete. And as we know, in the case of delete, we do have the old set of record. So here I'll be putting the list because we always get the list. And here I'll be putting the list of opportunity, because I'm writing down my trigger on the opportunity object, and here I am putting the old opportunity list. Always try to give the more logical name. Now this is the method that I need to invoke. So what I'll be doing here is here I am be calling this method, that is the before delete method. And what I need to pass here is the trigger dot old in this scenario. I hope you folks got the clarity till now, right? To build this logic, as I said, we have to work on the related activities. And just now we discussed that related activities means nothing but your task and event. And my trigger that I am writing here, it is on the opportunity object. Right now, I do have the two objects or multiple objects here, but the good part here is they all are related with each other. So I do have to write down the trigger on the opportunity object, and my related activities are task and event. So I can say that here opportunity object is my parent object, right? And my task and event, they are the child object. So basically I need to go and do the traversing here with the help of SOQL to get the related record is the parent to child traversing. Why I am doing this? Because on the opportunity, I need to go and figure it out what all different tasks and the events which are related to each other, which are related to that particular opportunity. Okay, and for that I will be writing down the parent and the child records traversing. So to do that, the best practice that generally I follow is I do write down my query first on the developer console to check whether it is working as expected or not. If it is, then I take the next step. So here I am started writing down my query. Let me also zoom this a bit. So here I'll be putting select ID from opportunity, right? So I do get the opportunities. Again, in my org, there are no opportunities at this moment. So let me go and quickly create one opportunity. So here I am putting the opportunity as one-to-one training opportunity with Ankit Jain. And let's say I do have my account with the name of TGWA training, prospecting, and close date. I am putting some date. That's it for now, and clicking on save. So now if I go here to my developer console, refresh the grid, you guys can see that I do have one opportunity with me. Now, the next thing that I need to do here is I need to get the related task as well as the related event. So whenever you have to write down or get any related records in parent to child traversing, there are two rules that you need to remember. Rule number one, you have to always write down the inner query. Few people also call this as a subquery. This is very specific whenever you are writing down the parent to child records query. And the second rule here is you have to always use the child relationship name from the child object. So in this scenario, my child object will be the related activities. So from the child object, I need to get the child relationship name, and I need to make sure that I am writing down the inner query here. How to write down the inner query? After you put all the fields for the parent query, put a comma, write down the inner query, select whatever the columns that you have to fetch from, and here you have to go and write down the child relationship name. So how to get the child relationship name? As I said, for that you have to navigate to the child object. First, I am navigating here to the task object. So let me go to the task object here. Again, on the task object and in the event object, these are the two special objects or the standard objects provided by the Salesforce. And these standard objects do have a special field with the name of related to the API name of that field is what ID. Why I'm saying it's a special? Because this one field do have the lookup relationship with more than one object. That's why it's a special field. Here it is also related to the opportunity object as well. So we have to go to this particular field, as I said, and what we have to take from here is the child relationship name. My child relationship name here is task. It's not task, it's task followed by the S, that is the task. So here I am putting my child relationship name. Make sure that here it is ending with S. Similar thing you have to do it for the events as well. So select ID from, again we need to take the child relationship name from the event to. I'm navigating here to the event object, navigating to the fields and relationship. Here also I'm looking for the special field that is my what ID, which is having the relationship with the multiple objects, navigating here, and from here also I'm taking the child relationship name, which is events. Again, it is ending with S. Right, this is how we have to go and make our query. Again, as of now we don't have any related record, so let's go and do that. I'll be creating one of the tasks. If you guys want, you can also go and create the event as well. Let's say I'm creating the task here, putting the call due date, I am putting it for today, and contact, I am selecting Ankit Jain and clicking on save. Okay, so this is one of the tasks that I do have. Again, if I go here, refresh the grid, I am having one related task here. So this is how my query will look like. There can be more than one task. That's why it is in the array as well. So this is how I should get the opportunity and their related activities. So here, the very first step that I am doing here is, as I said, get opportunity related activities. And as I said, in the form of best practice, whenever possible, we should always go for the SOQL for loop. So here I'll be putting the opportunity colon, and in the square bracket, I am putting my query. But I am not interested in all the opportunities. I am interested only in the opportunity, which is the part of my trigger. How I can do that? I need to use the binding variable here. Again, if you folks have seen the first video of this particular series, you guys might know that we can directly use the trigger dot new context variable inside the query as the binding variable. It is not possible if you are doing it in other context, but it is completely possible if you are doing this in the if it is completely possible if you are doing this in the trigger context. So you can directly put where ID in followed by the opportunity list. Otherwise, if you are doing it in another context, for example, LWC, you have to iterate over it, take the IDs, store it into the set and do all those stuff. But as you are using it in the trigger context, you can directly go and use it. And this is the beauty of trigger.new context variable. You can avoid the additional looping here. Now, what we have to check in case they do have any related activities. So what I am doing, in case they do have any related activities, I will store those opportunities in one of the set variable. So I am defining here one set, that is the opportunity with related activities. This is my set is equal to new set of ID. In this set, I will store all the opportunities which do have the related activity. Now, how I can validate whether the opportunities do have the related activities or not. So for that, I will be first getting the list of tasks. Let's say I'm putting here the task list is equal to opp.task tasks, right? Same thing. Similarly, here I am getting the list of event, that is the event list is equal to opp.events. Right, I got my task list as well as the event list. Now here I am checking, and this is the key part of this trigger that you have to check. If one of them is not empty, that is task list is not empty, or event list is not empty, right? Then what we have to do, we have to add my particular opportunity in this set. So here I will be putting into add the record into the set. We have to use the add method, and here I will be putting the opportunity dot ID. So again, I'm repeating, I am writing down the parent to child relationship query. I am getting the parent and the related task as well as the event. I am only interested in the records which are part of this triggers. That's why I am directly using this. It is possible only with the context of trigger. You can directly use the trigger dot new in the form of context variable as a binding variable. After that, I am getting the related records, processing it and storing my result into the set. Now, coming back to my original list that I received. So I will start iterating this list now. Opportunity colon opportunity list, right? And what I will check in that opportunity list, the activities that I do have stored, is this activities is a part of this set or not. Okay, so how I can go and check? By using the contains method. Whenever we have to validate if anything is present in the set or not, we always use the contains method. So in this set, I am checking whether the ID that I am processing is available or not. So here I will be putting opp.id. If that is available inside this set, then the next thing what I need to do here is I have to go and put the error message. So to put the error message, as I said, we have to use the add error method, and this is the error message that I am putting. You cannot delete opportunities with the related task as well as the events. I hope you folks got the idea what I have done here. Let's go and deploy this now. And similarly, we also go and deploy my, okay, I'm not sure whether I have saved the changes. Let me go and deploy this one more time. Okay, I'm getting one error. Sorry, the error is because I have not used the correct spell of the opportunity. Uh, I believe this time it should work. So let me go and deploy this. Line number 22. Oh, sorry. Another typo. Let me put the if condition correct, and inside this only I am putting my block. Okay, now let me go and deploy this. Right, and that's why I'm going and deploying my trigger as well. There was one small typo. I have missed to put the if condition. Now it looks good. Let's go and test it out. So now the expectation here is if I go and try to delete this opportunity because it has the related task, I should get an error. That is the expectation. Let's go and try to delete this now. You guys can see that I am getting the error message. You cannot delete opportunities with task and event. You cannot delete the opportunities with the task and event. I hope you folks got the idea how we have used the add error method to put the validation. Right now, let's move to the next scenario that I want you folks to try as an assignment and put the solution in the comment section. Trust me, I'll be responsive and I'll be checking your solution as well. Moreover, based on the previous feedback, I will also be showing the solution for these assignments in the next video. So I will be putting the assignment. I will give you 1 week gap so that you guys can work on that assignment, and I will be releasing the next video where I will be showing you the solution for this assignment as well. In this way, you can also validate whether you are doing or whether what I will be showing is correct or not. Okay. So now, what is the next assignment that you guys have to work on? You have to go and create the Apex trigger. This Apex trigger will prevent the creation of the new opportunity again if the associated account does not have a billing address. Okay. If the account which is associated to that opportunity, it does not have a billing address, then you have to go and prevent the creation of that opportunity. Make sure that you guys are attempting it by answering these 4 questions. On which object the user is performing the operation? Again, if you like to answer this now, I'll be showing the solution. So please pause the video and try to answer this. On which object the user is performing the operation? In this scenario, the user will be performing the operations on the opportunity object. What type of operation that user is performing? User is performing the deletion. Sorry, user will be performing the creation operation, not the deletion. My bad. User will be performing the insert operation. What type of trigger will be applicable and why? Again, the before trigger will be applicable because we have to validate. Whenever we have to perform the validation, we'll always go for the before trigger. And which context variable will be used in this scenario? So the context variable that will be used in the case of before trigger and insert will be the trigger dot new context variable. So these are the 4 things that needs to be answered. And based on this type of the trigger and the type of the operation, you guys can easily figure out which events will be applicable. That is the before insert event. Sorry, it's a typo again. So you guys can ignore it. It should be a before insert only. Okay, that trigger will be applicable here. Do practice this assignment and let me know the solution for this in the upcoming session. I hope you folks found it helpful and got the learning from this as well. Thank you. Have a good time.